Welcome everyone to today's CSIA Road to the Conference Business Webinar, 2019 Social Media Trends to Keep an Eye on. My name is Holly Lundgren, CSIA's Education Manager, and I will be your host today. For those of you unfamiliar with CSIA, we are a global, nonprofit professional association with over 500 member companies in 40 countries. Our mission is to advance the practice of control system integration to benefit our members and their clients. Our vision is to ensure that manufacturing and process industries everywhere have access to low-risk, safe, and successful application of automation technology. CSIA membership offers members access to resources needed to attain and exceed business goals. To highlight just a few of our many member benefits, the CSIA Best Practice Manual guides control system integration companies in the setup and running of a solid company. CSIA's Business Insurance Program, initiated in 2003, offers members an excellent insurance program for business owners, subcontractors, and more. The program includes members from all over the world enjoying the peace of mind that comes with CSIA insurance. Clients in all industries are also now seeking integrators with a CSIA certification. They recognize CSIA certified integrators' commitment to industry standards and business acumen. As a result, being certified can shorten the sales cycle. Registration is now open for CSIA's Executive Conference, held April 30th through May 3rd in Asheville, North Carolina. The Executive Conference is the highlight of the year when several hundred members and industry partners meet to network, hear speakers, share best practices, learn about new products and services, and have a lot of fun. CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange is the premier automation guide featuring system integrators and suppliers who provide industrial manufacturing and process automation solutions. For integrators and suppliers, it's a place to market their expertise. Clients will find white papers, case studies, capabilities, contact information, and engage in conversation directly with CSIA members. Please follow CSIA's online events calendar for all upcoming webinars, including both partner webinars and business webinars. You won't want to miss these opportunities to learn from the comfort of your own office or home. For more information about CSIA, please visit our website or contact us. At this time, I would like to introduce our presenter. Tanya is an accomplished senior executive and entrepreneur with more than 20 years of success across the manufacturing, energy management, automation, technology, oil and gas, food and beverage, mining, and minerals industries. Leveraging extensive experience in leading process management, IT management, social business transformation for organizations with a global scope, she helps established companies looking to drive growth and expansion through comprehensive process transformation strategies. At this time, I'll turn it over to our distinguished presenter. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you, Holly, for that great introduction. Welcome to everyone who has taken the time out of their day to listen to me. I really do appreciate that. I know we're all very busy. I hope to engage with you and hopefully teach you a few new things that are coming up with social media trends for 2019. I'm going to share my screen right now so you can start to see that. And what I'd love to ask of the group is there is a question box as part of the webinar tool set. If you have any questions throughout the entire presentation, feel free to start typing them in, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you do have that come up during this particular presentation. So to kick off, what I have been really doing is really helping a lot of different industrial technology companies start to work on how you leverage that digital word of mouth. We've been using word of mouth, for hundreds of years, and how do we get people and customers to come and learn about us, understand what we're doing as a company. Well, we have an expansive new technology, and that is the social media platforms that has really engaged us in a way that we've been very, I'll say, some companies and some people have been very uncomfortable with it. It's not always the most comfortable. I had to get comfortable with it, I'll be honest. I'm not a millennial, but I learned very quickly the power of it and how much it can actually help organizations with their brands, helping them understand their customers better, targeting new customers that they've never even been able to reach before because they have this ability to do a digital word of mouth, leveraging LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. becoming more of an H-to-H connection, a human-to-human connection with people through this digital age. The digital age brings up, our up-and-coming, and they are in the workforce already. Think about the millennials. They are digitally native. They grew up with technology alongside of them. They are the largest generation yet of 2.5 billion worldwide, which is an amazing amount of this generation coming in that's technology ready to go, hyper-connected, knowing how to look at social media networks to be able to look at reviews, be able to understand a specific company and how do they work, how do their employees feel about the company, bringing that overall engagement level to an even interesting level. 50% of the workforce is already starting to work with the millennials in today's workforce. So if you think about it from an age range perspective, the age range, so anyone who's 39 and younger is in that millennial workforce. So that workforce is slowly becoming these digitally connected and ready to go partners, customers, resellers. They're very achievement oriented, confident, and they have high expectations of how the world will work. They're expecting to leverage technology to be able to be doing business with you as a company and with your partners. So you think about the millennial career path, you come in and you're a learner, contributor, manager, and a leader. Well, in today's buying cycle, it's very, very close to this. So as they're learning, consuming, influencing, buying, and evangelizing. So this is a very important trend to be looking at and understanding how do we make sure that we're leveraging this new media in a way that best works for your organization, for your people, and being able to understand what's happening in 2019 that we should be looking at as we move forward. A couple things we're going to be going over is I like to give people some statistics to help broaden the idea of what is this, how have things changed, the trends year over year. I call it shock. There's a lot of things that shocked me this past year in 2018, and things that are coming forward that shock me in where people are using social media that you wouldn't even have expected. And so how do you then take all this information and where do you focus your attention? Where do you focus your time? Because it can be very consuming, and it can be also something that you don't necessarily, you can spend a ton of time on it and maybe not get anything out of it. So how do you get the most out of this particular media? So 20 years of internet giants. I love this slide because so many people can relate to going back into 1998 and see, well, yeah, I remember Yahoo, and I remember AOL, and I remember the movie You've Got Mail, and the dial-up connections. There was all of these types of things coming out. And if you start to look over the years, all the change and who's now leading in this space, I think it's very interesting how Amazon has become a major leader in our marketplace. And we look at how they do business and how they're changing the way people are doing business with e-commerce and having that integrated into their overall mix. Ortha, which is a Verizon company, how you're now looking at media companies have become very, very strong in the marketplace, and how media companies are playing even more and more of a AI. They're learning how people are watching and consuming information, and they're going to be able to actually give you on-demand relevant advertisements to your household specifically. So they have the data to be able to do household-specific advertisements. These are the game changers, and trying to understand how this works is really important to dig into social media to begin with. Some other statistics that I found very interesting with LinkedIn, more users are over 30 than under 30 in LinkedIn. So it's really important to understand that LinkedIn has this capability of really making you see lots of people that can be connections. But LinkedIn is also not just for finding jobs, it's become a learning tool. It's become a tool where you can learn so many things about different companies, but you can learn so many different things about your job, your career, growing your overall education. So LinkedIn has become not a careers platform, but an education and a connecting platform. Facebook is still one of the most popular social media accounts out there, regardless of what happened to them in 2018. They are still growing. They are still, 79% of the Internet users in the U.S. have a Facebook account. So that is interesting to see how that is growing over time. How are they, managing all the different changes, especially with GDPR and all the other privacy things that they have to evaluate, they have to adjust for, and they have to manage that across their overall infrastructure. Twitter, we've seen Twitter in some ways and we go, what's the value? The value of Twitter is, I think, an amazing tool for research and being able to watch conferences. 82% of monthly users are active on Twitter who have Twitter and leverage it. Twitter doesn't always have to be, we have to tweet all the time. I always say listen, and watch what others do first before starting to engage. You can learn a lot from watching others. Instagram, another one that's going to be really shocking in how much companies have started to use Instagram for managing their overall portfolio of images, and how many other people are coming in and tagging their company and being able to see their company being tagged with posts of their products, being used in particular environments that you may not have ever seen before, but it's growing, especially in the industrial technology space. I've seen huge growth in this particular area for Instagram. Glassdoor is always good to be watching. Watch how people are responding to your company. People look to that for saying, hey, how is this company perceived? It's definitely something that I would never not look at, and making sure you're managing that as well. Indeed, YouTube, again, it's one of my favorite channels to be looking at. They've changed so much over the years. It's still the #2 search engine in the world to be able to come and say, hey, I want to be able to search something. People go to YouTube, first Google, then YouTube, then they're going to Facebook. They're starting to leverage these platforms as go-to platforms for finding out about your organization, your company. What does it tell me? It's not just your website anymore. Now you have to start to span these portfolio of social media platforms too. So active monthly users per social media platform worldwide. So again, Facebook is still very high. Over 2 billion people are on Facebook and leveraging it. I don't know of one magazine that holds that many viewerships. I don't know any network of watching television. I don't know of any email list that large. So if you look at Facebook from the lens of saying, wow, that is quite a collection of people that I can market to, you start to see Facebook in a different lens of like, you can actually reach many, many different people, and you can do lookalike audiences to reach new people. YouTube, WhatsApp is growing, so the direct messaging capabilities are growing big time. It's not just it's not a one-to-many conversation. You're going to have more and more people are leveraging direct messaging to your organization and to your different salespeople between LinkedIn, Facebook messaging, WhatsApp is being used to have these conversations with people outside of the normal email chain. So the age range is interesting as well. I think this is something that we bump into frequently, and we're starting to see, yes, a younger generation is leveraging these platforms much more than our baby boom generation. So, but the baby boom generation is on social media. They are leveraging it. They are looking at the different accounts. They're leveraging LinkedIn maybe a little bit more than some of the other platforms, but as you can see, Facebook, very strong, same with YouTube. It's a very strong population of people going to these particular platforms to search for information, to search for content. And you need to be out there and leveraging this and knowing what's my strategy surrounding these platforms. How do I engage? How do I make business? How do I inspire people? How do I create a brand for myself across these platforms? Average usage, different devices. Now that's the other interesting thing. You think about your cell phone. Your cell phone is a mini computer that you can carry around everywhere you go. You can do like so much of your job through your cell phone, and you do. There is connections that are happening every single day, early morning. During the day, people are maybe leveraging their laptops more, and then early evening and into the prime night, they're switching over to their tablets. So we now have a very connected society. So it doesn't always happen on one device. You're having to manage your content across multiple devices and making sure it works effectively across the phone, tablet, and your desktop. Trends year over year. So I actually started to really dive into using social media back in 2011. So I find this very interesting that there was about 150 different marketing technologies back then to help with managing all the different social media platforms, and also with marketing automation and other things of that nature. This has grown exponentially over the years. There are so many startup companies and so many companies doing things in this digital space around marketing and technology. It has alone in 2018, it grew 27%. So new companies are coming in, companies are going. There is a wave of technology of people trying to identify how to connect, how to engage with people, how to get through the noise of social. Monthly users. So if you think about how overall, with the change that happened with Facebook, what's interesting about this specifically for Facebook monthly users, if you start to look at the United States, it really flatlined over 2018. Other areas of the world kept growing. But we ran into, in the United States, a specific change that said, wait a minute, what is Facebook really doing with my data? And that really made people pause and go, wait a minute, what's happening? We should maybe reevaluate. And maybe I'm going to come off. Maybe I'm going to take a pause from Facebook. I'm going to, leave Facebook. Watch where they went. They grew over to Instagram. This shocked me. In 2018, it went from 800 million up to $1 billion. It grew over 200 million in 1 year because they left Facebook and said, I'll use Instagram. The interesting thing now, Instagram and Facebook Facebook owns Instagram. Facebook owns WhatsApp. Facebook owns Facebook messaging, of course. But their user base moving into Instagram, they thought, oh, I'll just move out of this platform. They still want to be connected. They still want to engage. They still want to share their images and their pictures with their family, friends, and colleagues. So this growth in social is still happening. The next thing that happens that shocks me is things like this, that the egg Instagram record holder for likes became an egg, a picture of an egg, to show, hey, if you are telling the world, I want to make this the #1 post, and saying, please go like this, it became a phenomenon of change where it grew because it became viral. As odd as this sounds, and strange as this sounds, that an egg picture can become the #1 liked image in Instagram in such a short period of time, that is the power of this connected world that we are living in. You can grow exponentially very fast in interesting ways. How you do this is not, there's no science behind this. There's a lot of things that you have to look at and go, timing, right place, right time. You cannot just come up and say, I want a viral campaign. Throughout my career, I've heard so many executives come to me and say, please make a viral campaign. Viral comes as a phenomenon inside of different organizations and different things that happen across social media. Platform audience and activity engagement in Instagram versus Facebook. This is where I've seen a lot of technology companies, I'll say B2B organizations, different organizations that are selling very rudimentary products in the industrial technology space have opened up Instagram accounts and have seen this amazing amount of engagement across their accounts. much more so than they have seen with Facebook. Facebook algorithms are all about doing paid ads, and they have really narrowed down on saying, look, we want to make sure that people are engaging with your page, and if they're not engaging with it, they're not going to give you the visibility without getting paid ads. But Instagram has an interesting organic growth that's been happening with audience size, activity and volume, and user engagement. If you have not leveraged Instagram, it is one platform I do encourage you to look at and create and start to engage with. People love to chat. What's interesting about Facebook messaging is that you have so many more people that are willing to do one-to-one conversations. It used to be that people were always terrified of every single time you post something on social media, everyone's going to see it, and there's going to be an upwelling of angry people. I find most people would rather have a one-on-one conversation with an organization if they have a problem. They want to be able to go to an organization with their problem and ask for help. They don't expect people to be perfect, but this is what's interesting about this creating of chat. You now see chat bots that are automation on people's websites where you can come in and they can ask questions and start filtering right away where the conversation should go to, so you make more efficiencies out of your customer care people. But 18.7 billion texts are sent worldwide every day. That's just an amazing amount of information that is traveling over instant chat and not through email. 60 billion messages sent every day through WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. 60 billion. That's a huge number that I can't even fathom for people to be having conversations. Things that are starting to you look at this shocking things that happen. Millennials are driving towards vertical video. If you're noticing on television and you're noticing on Facebook and LinkedIn, you're starting to see less of your phone and the imagery and the videos of a phone being done horizontally. So in other words, you turning your phone sideways to do the picture. When I first started, that was the only way to do a video or a picture, because everyone was taking this video or picture for a broadcast or to be looking at a monitor of some sort, whether it's your laptop monitor or whether it was your television monitor. You're always looking at it from that lens. This phenomenon is showing that more and more people are spending time on their devices. And you actually have a standalone vertical adoption that is happening, so much so that Instagram TV will allow users to upload vertical videos up to 10 minutes or longer if it's a verified account. YouTube has also adopted to vertical video as well. They used to only allow and post horizontal video. They now have adopted to vertical information and watching more and more people who are giving information via video. Now, social media accounts also give a ton of, I'll say, extra credit or give you more boost in your visibility the more video you are doing. What are these reasons for the continued use of Facebook despite all the issues that they have? I found this to be a very interesting survey that was done, that my personal life, like staying in touch with my family, with my friends and family, is too heavily integrated with Facebook to delete my account. People are becoming much more open to the idea that they understand that their data and their information is no longer just private. And they're saying, I've accepted that my privacy and my personal information may never be completely protected if I use social media. They are becoming it's more interesting to be able to share information, share images, to share their thoughts, to engage with companies as well with using these social media platforms. So they're not stepping away from Facebook. They're accepting that Facebook is going to take the challenge of addressing privacy issues and that they're going to work through this. So this will be very interesting to see over 2019 how much does Facebook adjust, how much does it change, what does it capture, what does it not capture anymore. All these things will become very interesting over this year. Major social media platforms, if you start to look at this particular one, you say, wait a minute, the users of Facebook, 90% of the users of Facebook, 90% of them are also on LinkedIn. So if you think about that, if you're saying, wait a minute, if they're on Facebook and they're using Facebook, they're also using LinkedIn, many, many people. And they're putting their profiles, they're updating their profiles, they're starting to use LinkedIn as a way for them to connect and have a digital Rolodex. So the reciprocity across the different networks is also very interesting to see how many people are having more and more accounts. They're leveraging those accounts across their network. Because if you think about it, a lot of this is done from your device, your mobile phone. All of these types of things are very easy. They're easy to use via your phone. So let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, 50% of the LinkedIn members are more likely to buy from a company that engages with them. That makes perfect sense if you thought about it, back in the day when the sales guy would come and knock on your door inside of your office building, you would be able to have someone to say, yes, I'm more willing to engage with someone who's knocking on my door. But I'm finding more and more buildings are not open to anybody just walking in and talking to them. They're not manned with receptionists all the time either. So they have this open system in LinkedIn that allows you to connect with these individuals digitally first. You start to do what's called warm calls before you do a cold call. You're able to change your cold calling into a warm call. By the time you talk to them on the phone, if you digitally connected with them, you're more likely to have a business prospect than if you sit and just cold call with them. That was interesting to me. And also, Mark Zuckerberg had to explain the Internet to Congress. And how does it work? That was a very interesting video that I watched. I went back. I said, wow, this is tough because now we have a group of people saying we want to make sure we can make more controls over what you're doing and how you're managing your data and who you're giving this data to. And now it's become a complexity that has to be managed, that has to be thought through and dealt with. So over the year of 2019, I'm very interested to see how Facebook manages this and how that trickle-down effect across the different social media platforms will be affected. GDPR is a perfect example of something that has rolled out across all of Europe that really has affected privacy and the changes. And Google was the first person to get hit with a fine from GDPR because they weren't open and transparent about what they were doing with data. And what does that mean for the rest? How does this start to affect the rest of the world? California is starting to look at GDPR. How does Facebook adapt to this? How do all of the social media platforms adapt over time? Where to focus? Searching to be found. So many of you have great customers out there. You have evangelizers, people who love your brand, they love what you're doing, and they want to, in so many ways, be helpful. Well, they're an influencer. And how do you actually start to leverage influence marketing? Reviews. Best advocates of your company are your employees, your partners, and your customers. How many of your employees are actually advocating, liking, sharing content that you are delivering across social media? How do you actually encourage them to do that? They're some of the best advocates you have inside of your organization because they already love your brand. They work there. And then how do you start to look at this closed-loop marketing? How do you affect the customer journey, leveraging all of these different customer acquisition methods? Social media is not the be-all, end-all. You're not going to stop doing things with digital, for email, for ads, display ads, Google ads. All of this needs to be looked at and figure out what's the mix. What's the mix that makes the most sense? By 2020, which is next year, at least 55% of the organizations will be digitally determined. Many people are still on the edge of trying to figure out how to go about this transformation. How does a business enable this digital enablement across your products, your services, and your marketing efforts. The influencer class emerges. Influencers have always been in the marketplace. This isn't really anything new, but the influencer class is now emerging across the digital space. And how is AI-generated influencer personas going to affect this long-term interest? How is AI going to be bringing information, collecting it, and distributing it across platforms? This will be also very interesting to start watching this year and how this gets developed. And employees will scale. They are more complex tasks. 70% of all the social and messaging inbound conversations and leveraging it will naturally go to natural language AI chatbots. You think about your customer care and your service and the initial phone calls that come in or the initial chats that come into your organization. A chatbot can handle many of those simple questions right up front to help alleviate a full-time person from answering some of the basic questions. And now it can be routed to the more expert employee to be managed and to be leveraged. So where do you focus? How do you focus on these things? How do you focus on what direct messaging to be looking at? Hashtags, Facebook Messenger, chatbots, looking at those, and video. Videos become very important. The raw video, especially across social media, people appreciate. They like it because they don't feel like they say this is real. They feel like it's more of a personal message directly from an individual or company if they're doing a video. Optimizing your websites and your blogs for voice searches. If you think about your Alexa device or your Google device or now your Facebook device, you have all of these different devices that you're speaking into, asking it questions. Siri, you're asking more verbal searches, which allow for larger words because people are not typing them. They're now verbally searching. Are your websites optimized for those verbal responses, for those verbal searches? Influencer marketing and employee advocates, huge opportunity, and your marketing automation. That gets into a little bit more sophistication after you have some of your foundational things done with social media and your website. So setting goals. I think it's really meaningful for people to start to look at how do I start? How do I even go down some of this path? Looking at 2019 with social media, how does it affect me? How do I start with some meaningful goals? What problems are you trying to solve inside your organization? Do you want to drive more qualified leads, bigger sales pipeline, more sales intelligence? What measurements will you use to define success and failure? These are important questions to be asking yourself and to be asking your organization. Where are we at? What are we looking at? And understanding what needs to be done. One of the key things I really try to help people do is education, training, and help grow confidence in how do you use these different platforms. As many as 75% of the sales say they have no formal training on how to use social media. Many sales leaders simply tell their reps to get on LinkedIn. Just get on LinkedIn. It's not that easy. How do you set up a profile? How do you engage your profile in such a way that you're transforming it from a resume to now a sales pitch? You're no longer just using your LinkedIn profile for getting jobs. You're now using LinkedIn to actually help you with getting sales. It's some of the first introductions you'll ever do. If you think about it, your first introductions many times in a business professional world will be with LinkedIn. They'll come and look at who you are. What is your background? Learn more about you. Just, helping give basic training to your sales force on how to leverage LinkedIn can make a world of difference and can make a huge impact. Setting up a small checklist, of saying, hey, these are some things. Did we do this? Am I daily using this? Are we leveraging my coworkers? Am I connecting with my coworkers? breaking down the elements of doing a social selling program can be very, very helpful for people to take it into bite-sized pieces, things that don't overwhelm them. How do you track and accept and follow back? How do you build strong relationships with people on LinkedIn and using that tool for growing your overall connections, growing your sales leads, growing your closure rate? These are really important things to be thinking about when you're looking at social, not just from a company lens, but from a personal branding lens as well. I encourage people to stay motivated. Social media is always changing, and social media is for sales is not just another methodology. It's a new mindset. And I think that's probably some of the biggest things I bump into personally with my clients, is helping people understand what is the value of these social channels. How can I use them to actually help me grow my business? And to continue to encourage people. This is a change management process that is probably one of the tougher things to actually go through. But as you are acquiring, I'll say, on a younger generation, you're going to see a lot more of this adaptability to these types of tools and these technologies. So after a month or two, the mountaintop doesn't feel like, oh my goodness, it feels like it's faded and people are settling down into their day-to-day routines. It doesn't feel like this is a huge, overwhelming thing to do if you can actually break this down into small, digestible steps of how do you change up your profiles. Some tips and tricks I'm going to give you today is, simple thing of this nature is to take 15 minutes out of your day and review your LinkedIn account. Make it part of your routine. Every day we go in and we look at our emails. That's been part of our routine for many, many years. Incorporating some of these newer medias into your daily routine and knowing how to use them for finding prospects, finding connections, engaging with people, learning new things can be super helpful. See who has viewed your profile. Connect with people. Like, share posts. Engage with people who engage with you. It is a digital word of mouth. It is a digital connection. And you may know people in person. You may not know them in person, but you know you have a connection. Maybe it's through a school. Maybe it's through your industry itself. I encourage anyone on the phone today, if you'd like, please look me up on LinkedIn and ask to connect with me. I'm happy to connect back with you. If you wanted to try and say, I want to send a direct message, feel free to just send me a quick direct message just to have the experience and understand how this works. I'm happy to be that guinea pig, the first person, if you haven't tried it, to try this out. Twitter. If you've not ever followed an event or a trade show via hashtag, try it sometime. Next time you're at a trade show or you hear about a trade show but you can't make it due to many reasons, follow the hashtag on Twitter. You'll see an amazing amount of conversation that will keep coming through, and you'll start to see who the digital savvy people are that are leveraging these new technologies and be able to have conversations and grow your network with them. Facebook Messenger, to learn about chatbots and learn about how they're using these and new methods, follow one of your favorite companies or customers by using the Discover to find them with Facebook Messenger. Learning and exploring is probably the best way to start to understand how social media platforms can be integrated into your business, integrated into your life that produces positive growth in many different ways. So one of the things I do look at people and say, hey, I want to help them over time in this particular space and growing what's needed is I look at your overall social media roadmap and say, how are you growing in this particular area? What are the different things that you have to do? It's not just opening up a Facebook page and saying, okay, we're done. How do you measure this amount of change that's happening? How do you integrate this into your suite of tools so that you can get the most information that you can get out of the internet, people, targeting them, finding new customers that are also needing your products and your services? This is something that you have to look at. There is a lot of technology around that. What makes the most sense for your business? How big are you? How much money do you have to spend? All these types of things. How do you start small? How do you start free? And then grow from there. So at this point, what I really would love to do is actually take the time to ask anybody if you have any questions or you have any comments. One of the things I do help companies with is a social selling mentor program. It's just an easy course to help your salespeople, to help your marketing people increase leads. How do you change your profile? How do you go through those step-by-step engagements to help track those sales leads? And how do you get them so that you actually can track them through your CRM so you know where you're spending your effort and your energy, and is it making any sense? And measuring them. And if you're an executive leader and you want to be more of a thought leader in this space, I'm happy to help you build that. How do you build your brand? Through you. You have a huge connection out to many people, and they know who you are because you are the leader inside of an organization. How do you actually start to engage with people on social media to grow your brand and your company's brand as well? So at this point, I would be delighted to take any questions that you may have surrounding the presentation that I just did. And I'll probably have Denise, if you don't mind, you can then maybe do your follow-up that you need to do, or you can ask the questions. I'm going to try and see if I can get them to come up.
Came in. Many users of Facebook and Instagram love using it for personal use and don't like the marketing component that's growing. How do you balance utilizing these social media platforms without frustrating the users that want to connect with family and friends and don't want to see all the marketing material?
So that's an interesting question because they're seeing marketing material all the time and you're not frustrating them. They're just breezing by you. So many people say if they're really angry and frustrated, they will disconnect. I'll be honest. I've worked with hundreds of different companies, and one of the things that you don't see very often are people disconnecting from you unless you're socially engaging on a irritating level, which means that you're out there multiple posts, multiple times a day where you do like 5 or 6 in a row. So if you're not balancing your engagement, you're right. You can become an irritant in social media, but I find most people do not. They can scan through a stream of information very quickly.
Okay. Did you have any other closing comments, Tanya?
My closing comments to the group is, and I'm happy to hopefully somebody can ask questions surrounding this. We're a pretty small group here, so that's really nice. How many people here have social media and are using social media today from a company standpoint? How many people have a company account and they are posting it on a regular basis? I don't know if anybody is answering.
Yes, Brandon. Brandon Techman does.
Okay. Excellent.
Another
Anybody
one.
else?
Another
Okay.
one, Aaron, we do, but we don't post much.
Okay.
Avery does use social media.
Excellent. How many people are actually using this as well personally? How many people have personal LinkedIn pages, profiles, and company pages?
Avery has a company account, and they said, let's see, they're working on getting more content to post.
Yeah, content can be tough. Content can be one of our, I think some of the bigger challenges is finding content to be able to post. You probably have some pretty interesting content on application notes or also leveraging your white papers. A lot of your technical documents can be broken up into bite-sized pieces of social media. So just to give you a little feedback on that, if you're looking for content, where can I find it? Reuse some of your existing content that you have on your website. There's some great pieces. And it's okay to reuse older information, especially if it's still relevant in your company today. Because remember, your audience is the first time is seeing this. And sometimes when you do post something, you get a good response. Repeat the post. Put it out there again. because not everybody saw it the first time. That's one of the interesting things about social. Unlike your email, most people scan through their email and they're pretty diligent about that. With social, they're browsing what they see that day. They're not always going back and looking yesterday or the week before. So reposting, resharing is very, very useful for your audience. And it helps you with not having to come up with content every single day.
And yes, Becca has a LinkedIn personal page and a company page separate. Erin has personal accounts but use social media only for business.
Excellent.
Becca, they use Facebook for posting to new employee introductions, job opportunities, and team building events.
Excellent. Good. How about Facebook? If Facebook is being used much for anybody? Any information out there? You got a page?
We do have another question that came in. Eric, do you find the sponsored content or ads on social media are effective, or are the end users so conditioned to just swipe right by it and it's not effective?
So effectiveness is definitely the key to that question. It's all about how you word things. Are you reaching the right targeted audience? So are people just swiping by? Many people are just swiping by, but the most effective way to do this is by making sure you are targeting your message, that you're writing it for a specific audience. If you write it too general and you don't then target that specific audience using the audience targeting capabilities within the social media platforms, you will get maybe a lot of people who are just swiping by. But if you target, you're going to get new followers, and you're going to be able to start to generate more and more of that swell of people connecting with you. So yes, it's definitely all about how you present your content and what questions you're asking them, and giving them learning gifts are very, very helpful. So people are very interested in learning more about something that's related to their industry, not necessarily always related to a specific product that you sell or service that you sell, but how did your product help solve a problem in an industry situation? And providing some feedback, providing links back to your website where you have those case studies, where you have those white papers. People will learn. They like to learn. So if you're providing a learning post, you'll find more interaction, more engagement.
Tanya, do you think remarketing is a good tool, or does it make people nervous that Big Brother is watching?
I think we have to, the Big Brother situation about what's watching, AI technology is very, very relevant today and is watching and pulling data all the time. But as far as remarketing and resharing information, yes, do it. It can be, I think, you can learning from that to grow how you do it next time is, I think, some of the more important things that happen with that. It isn't always about just do it once and then you're done. It's about having a plan to say we're going to start down this particular path and we're going to engage and learn and grow. Because it may not work the first time, but don't give up because there's too many case studies that showcase the success of this.
Okay. Thank you. And on behalf of CSIA, I would like to thank Tanya for this informative discussion. I'd also like to thank all of those attending. We hope you found the webinar informational. When you close out of this webinar, a link will pop up to a brief evaluation. We appreciate if you would take a moment to share your feedback with us. We'd also like to remind you that a recording of this webinar will be available for viewing within 30 days of this event. Please visit the CSIA website to view this recording or a past webinar you may have missed. This concludes our program for today. Thank you again for joining us, and have a good afternoon.